All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're talking about something that's totally shaking up one of the toughest jobs in tech, managing the cloud. And look, we're not just talking about little tweaks here and there. This is a massive shift in how engineers do their jobs, with AI becoming their essential co-pilot.
So here's the thing. The biggest, nastiest problems in tech right now, they're totally invisible. Yeah, in these giant, tangled cloud setups, the real dangers don't crash the system with a big bang. Nope, they're quiet. They're just lurking under the surface, completely hidden from all our old school tools.
And that brings us to the goal, right? The whole industry is trying to get away from that old model of just being a really good firefighter, always reacting to problems after they've already started. The new gold standard? It's called operational excellence. It's all about using tools like AI to build systems that can actually see problems coming and maybe even heal themselves before a human ever has to wake up in the middle of the night.
Okay, so to make this feel real, let's walk through a little story. Picture an engineer who's up against what's called a silent failure. The service isn't totally down, but it's just not working right. It's the kind of thing that will absolutely drive a team nuts for days on end.
And this really gets to the heart of the change. The old way was just chaos, frantically digging through millions of lines of logs, just searching for the word error. But the new way, the AI way, it's completely different. It's about finding that one weird thing that's happening inside a whole ocean of normal. It's really about finding the signal in all that noise.
So you're probably wondering, how on earth does an AI actually do that? Well, this is where a tool like Amazon Q comes into play, and it uses something it calls a reasoning loop. So first, it connects the dots across your entire system. It sees an API error over here and links it to a function timing out over there. Then, it uses machine learning to hunt for weird patterns. It can ignore a million perfectly normal logs to find the 3 that just look off. And finally, it takes that weird signature and checks it against a massive database of known problems.
And check this out, this is the result. It's incredible. In our silent failure story, the AI doesn't just find some generic error message. No, it notices that the amount of data being sent back to the user has suddenly dropped to 0. But it doesn't even stop there. It pinpoints the exact line of code in the exact deployment that caused the whole mess, an investigation that could have taken a team days. Solved. In seconds. Just like that. Mystery over. Okay, so that's logs. But what about the other major headache for cloud engineers? The network, right? Well, for this, the AI completely changes its hat and becomes this super powerful graph engine, ready to solve these incredibly complex connectivity puzzles.
So when you ask the AI something like, hey, why can't this server talk to that database? It goes on what's called a virtual packet walk. It's like a little digital detective. It checks everything, one step at a time. First, does the server have the right permissions? Its IAM roles? Okay, check. Then, is the traffic even allowed through the firewalls, the security groups, and network ACLs? Then it checks the routing. Does the network even know how to get from point A to point B? It even dives deep into really tricky stuff like packet size mismatches, MTU issues that cause data to just get dropped without a trace.
And here is the absolute game changer. The AI doesn't just tell you what's wrong. It gives you the exact command you need to run to fix it. This is huge. It turns what could be hours of banging your head against the wall into a simple copy and paste. And that frees up the engineer to work on the big picture stuff that actually needs human creativity.
All right, let's switch gears and talk about everyone's favorite topic, money. Because AI is changing how we handle cloud costs too. It's not just about getting a bill at the end of the month that makes you cry. It's about building efficiency right into the way we develop things from the very beginning.
This new way of thinking about FinOps or financial operations is really built on 3 key pillars. We're talking about hunting down zombie resources, focusing on sustainability, and using smart modeling to help you make big financial commitments. So let's break that down a bit. First up, the zombie hunt. This is all about finding that pure hidden waste. Things like old storage snapshots you forgot about, or IP addresses that aren't connected to anything but are still quietly draining your budget every single month. Then you've got sustainability scoring. Now this is cool. It goes beyond just cost. It might suggest, hey, have you thought about moving to these more energy-efficient processors to lower your carbon footprint? And finally, commitment modeling. This is a super powerful tool that can simulate your future bill, showing you exactly how much you'd save with a different payment plan. It takes all the guesswork out of those really big financial decisions. And the impact here, it can be absolutely massive. The AI can look back across your entire account and pinpoint a full year's worth of this cumulative waste. We're often talking about thousands, sometimes even hundreds of thousands of dollars in hidden, totally unnecessary spending.
So you might be thinking, okay, if the AI is this smart, what's left for the human engineer to do?
And that brings us to our final, and honestly, probably the most important point. The role of the expert is changing. It's not about having all the answers anymore. It's about knowing how to ask all the right questions.
Okay, let's put you in the driver's seat for a second. Imagine your app is running slow. The AI looks at the data, sees the database CPU is maxed out, and it suggests adding a read replica to spread out the work. But your gut, your experience, it's telling you something's not right. You know this app mostly writes data, so a read replica is not going to help. So what's the pro move here?
Here's what the pro does. You don't just ignore the AI, but you don't blindly follow it either. You use your expertise to guide it. You tell it, okay, let's dig deeper. Analyze the wait events for me. You use it to find out why the CPU is so high in the first place. See, that's the real skill now, using the AI like a precision scalpel, not just a blunt hammer.
Okay, here's another one for you, and this one is all about scale. You're in charge of this massive, old environment with more than 200 separate virtual networks. Your boss comes to you and says, I need you to find every single place where port 22, the supercritical SSH port, is accidentally open to the whole internet. Trying to do that by hand? It would be an absolute nightmare.
The pro doesn't even think about doing that manually. That's the old way. Instead, they use the AI to see the whole board at once. They just ask it a simple question. Run a network access analysis across our entire organization. And in minutes, the AI zips through every single security rule and spits out a neat centralized report showing every single potential vulnerability. This is the new superpower, turning what would have been an impossible, week-long task into a single, simple question.
And that really brings us full circle. As these AI copilots get woven into everything we do, the very definition of what it means to be an expert is being rewritten right before our eyes. The value isn't so much in memorizing commands anymore or being the fastest troubleshooter on the keyboard. It's shifting to a whole new level of thinking. It's about having the deep experience to know when the AI might be going down the wrong path. It's about having the curiosity to ask that second and that third question. And it's about having the wisdom to guide these unbelievably powerful tools to solve the real problems. So I'll leave you with this. When your co-pilot is an AI, what does it really mean to be the one in charge?